Hey guys, back with part 3 of our church build, and now we're just going to go to the back where we've left the walls undone. Now we're just going to drag this back so it's aligned parallel with the line in the front, so that the whole little side building here just becomes a separate piece. So like that, we're just going to start placing some blocks. And I'm going to go on my third one in from the edge and start building out. Start dragging this down. I'm going to start making way for our window. So we're going to do 1, 2, and then we're going to do a space of 3 for the window, then another 2 filler, and we're going to repeat that process so we end up with 5 windows. So 3 for the gap for the window, and then 2 filled in. And repeating the process until you've got 5 windows, and then your last 2 for the end of the wall as well. So there's my 5 windows. Now we are currently going to leave the back end of the church open, mainly so I can just have a look at a few more pictures, because I'm pretty sure there should be like another separate piece on the back where there would be like the box for Reverend Lovejoy to talk in. Now I may be wrong, so I'm going to look it up first. If it's not, then it's just a case of filling in the back and making sure there's room for 5 windows. If there is, it's a case of we're going to have to adapt to make that room to then bring it in the same way it should do. So basically what we're doing here for the roof, we're coming off our frame where we know where our wall starts, and then we're going to go up by 2 blocks, and then from them 2 blocks we'll go up to them 3, and then from the 3 go up 1 next over 4, and like I've done here, which is now 1, 2, 3, is that 4 or 5? Basically just to give it that sort of half cut circle look. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, that'll be our center one. So basically all we do is step it up every time. Ignore that. So now bringing it down, we're now going to start sloping it down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And slabbing across the top. And place him in a full block in front. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. And then coming down 1, 2, 3. And then finally finishing off with our 1, 2 right on the end. So now we know where our far wall is, we can now start building that on and filling in the gap now in between the wall of the outside building compared to the back of the church. So going 1 block in behind where we've placed one, we're just going to start dragging it across, bricking that one in, and then finding where our wall starts for the back end of the church. So now we've filled in our wall on the outhouse, we're now going to start dragging this back and dragging it down. So same again, it'll be 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3 for our window to go in, 1, 2, filling it in, and then 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2 to fill in, and so on until you end up with your 5 windows down this side of the build. 1 more, And like I say, we will be leaving it open at this end for now, just purely so I can make sure I'm not missing out the podium box, or if it does go in the building, it's just a matter of coming back, filling in the wall, and then just doing some outside decorations just to make it look tidy. But as far as I know, there is like a separate piece at the back which actually stands in, and it's a bit smaller, but it actually makes it taller because the roof is obviously angled up. But I will look just to make sure, and obviously there's still a few bits to do with the build yet, but that will depend on how big of a part is left. Is all down to whether that needs a separate piece as well. So we're now just linking up all of our frame, making sure it's all together. We're going to start filling in where we know our walls are going to go and dragging our roof across. So I'm just going to start dragging my edger out. It is time consuming, but it has got to be done. And as you can already see, this building is becoming a lot bigger. I was trying to say in the first part, although the front is looking small on its own, once you start really getting into the build, it's actually going to be a lot bigger than you think, both in lengthways, height wise. Not too sure if I want to extend the front upwards a bit, but at the moment I can't see the point in doing it. It's not going to make it any different at all. The only thing you could do is maybe extend the peak of the tower over one, so that the block becomes one higher again. But for me, I'm thinking it's one of them cases that you've just got to finish the build. There's not really a whole lot you can do. So as you're leaving in your gaps, make sure you fill in and then add one extra on the tops, one of each end, so you're making room for your middle one. So place one, miss one, place one, and then fill in your gaps. And the same as before, we're just going to be using stained coloured glass blocks just to create a sense of stained glassing. So another thing, we obviously know that we've got offices at the front, and then obviously having a couple of double doors leading into the main hall of the church. So I'm not quite sure what the layout is, so I think using the layout that we've got, I think we're going to have to sort of create like a middle hallway leading into one of three doors. One end Lovejoy's office, another end maybe toilets, I'm not too sure, and then having the double doors in front of you going into the main hall. But apart from that, I'm not actually too sure how it should be laid out. Obviously the church will be quite straightforward. Out of the limited pictures, you get the understanding it's going to be benches and a pew, so you work off of that theory and that should be fine. But as far as actual layout and surroundings, I'm actually not so sure. I can just work off pictures and keep trying to make it as accurate as possible according to pictures by adding bits to the outside. But you will notice this build will become very big. Now the only other way to get this any more accurate, as far as I'm concerned, without going any bigger, I would say maybe use stained clay to build the church. I wish I had of. At the time this was the obvious option, and normally I always end up going back to the obvious option. It's just where I didn't play around with the materials first. I'm sort of got a thinking that maybe if we had used a bit of stained clay, it would have kept it with a Simpsons sort of theme. Obviously it's easy to tell what church it is just by the front, but at the same time I do like to keep it very cartoony, bright coloured. And I don't know, at the time I honestly thought the stone brick, the sand brick would be the best job. It probably actually is, but I'm now starting to think that maybe it might have improved a bit if it was all one solid colour. But a bit late for that now. We're going to have to carry on, see how it turns out. Jobs like this are so long and boring. Putting in stained glass would be so much easier just to do one colour, but really you want the colours there. Probably line them with some glowstone on the inside just to really give it some glow. We'll probably glass in the tower part, so it's like glowstone above you as well, and then work from that point, because I'm not too sure whether this wall here underneath the roof should actually be gone. So it's all, but obviously I can't see it because it would need the double doors to the hall. So anyway guys, we're going to start dragging across, and we're basically going to leave the bottom one free, and we're just going to drag it across, because if anything and you don't like it so much, you can always use it as beams for inside the church. So once this is all dragged across, you could use like your bottom ones, drag it across to the other side, and end up with them sort of church beams, ones going through the middle. Yeah, it's all ideas, you don't have to do it that way, may not do it that way. But I prefer wood on the inside, just to give it a wood feeling. So the whole point of this now is just really closing in this roof, making sure it's got this oval sort of shape on top, so it's more of a dome compared to the slants on the other roofs, and just making sure that it really come out a little bit of a touch on each side, but by not overstepping the mark either, just to really keep it as accurate as possible. So there we have it guys, we're just about to finish. I'm just literally putting in my last pieces of the roof, As you can see, we've got the back end done. It's more now just about making sure that we haven't got to put the box on the end. If not, it's just a case of putting in 5 stained glass. Obviously we'll come back to that in the next part. But anyway guys, thanks for watching.